We deliver what they need and ultimately what they want.
Welcome to US-EcoVlog. My name is Sandy Gallo. I'm a Regional Managing Director with US-EcoLogic. And today's episode is Season 1, Episode 2 with our distinguished guest, Eric Johnson. Welcome to the US-EcoVlog.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your history with US-EcoLogic.
I've been here for over 10 years. I started in the field, like almost everybody on the team, running inspections and running the business. And I did such a poor job of it. They made me a project manager. I did such a poor job of that. Eventually, I ended up running the whole thing.
Great. And how long has it been since you've been with US-EcoLogic?
13 years, actually.
Wow, awesome. In that time, you've had a lot of success. Why would you say builders trust US-EcoLogic with their projects?
Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that what we deliver is what we tell them we're going to deliver. We show up, we do the work, we do all the hard work. We tell them what's wrong. Sometimes we can tell them how to fix it, but we actually deliver what was sold to them.
Yeah, you've been, as far as green building, tell us a little bit about your experience with that and why, US-EcoLogic has been not only successful nationally, but internationally with green building programs.
Really, that starts with the premise of the business model. We don't choose what shade of green our builders are. They tell us what they want to do, and then we deliver it for them. Or in some cases, we tell them that we can't deliver, and we give them a pathway to get there. It's that difference between those two that I think are really important. We don't drive with a mandate. We don't, come up with a political agenda by any means. We deliver what they need and ultimately what they want.
What would you say is the most distinguishing factors? So we do both, right? We deal with both developers and multifamily buildings, and then we also work in the single family national production and local regional. What would you say the biggest differences are? And more importantly, what are the similarities?
Sure. So I think our track record speaks for itself in that by no way are we the largest in our industry at what we do. But what we do better than anybody else. And in some cases, we've done more than anybody else. So for that example, I'll talk to you about LEED. From a LEED for home standpoint, we've done over 13,000 projects. From certified all the way up to platinum. Yeah, it is. It's almost obnoxious, to be honest with you. I think our next closest competitor might be a couple of hundred. There's nobody that's even close to that. And that's on a worldwide global scale. That's not just in Texas. That's not just in the US. That's across the globe where we've done that work. And that breadth of knowledge, I think, then expands itself down to even simple code compliance. So we take that higher level, that LEED mandates and NGBS mandates, and that becomes just our benchmark of how we do our job, how we run our business.
Yeah, code compliance is actually, surprisingly enough, the number one thing that, single family builders are engaging in, but more and more multifamily builders are using code compliance only and not green building unless there's some advantageous thing like tax credits, which we all know about what's going on with that or whatever. What would you say, that those are kind of like the similarities. What do you think the biggest differences is?
I think it's our understanding of those codes. We actually sit on those code committees and write those codes. We work directly with the EPA, the DOE, and offshoots like NREL of developing and actually streamlining it and mandating, improving what works within code and more importantly, what doesn't work. We understand what the intent is, but the deliverable can be completely different, especially in construction. I mean, the basic rule of construction is what can go wrong besides everything. And It goes wrong every day, right?
Yep.
With energy code compliance, and we focus only on energy code compliance because if energy code is a book of a couple hundred pages, it takes all of us to understand that every day. Building code is volumes.
Right.
And so we are really, really good at this one aspect of it. We're not somewhat subpar at all these other aspects of it. That's a difference too. We deliver energy code, and that's what we do.
Do you have a story that you could relate to how, a project was going south and we were able to step in and actually, not only successfully complete the project, but do it in the way that the ownership or developer wanted to?
Actually, I'll give you two examples of that. One is that early on in my career, we were making a software change And despite our best efforts, we had close to 300 houses get through our process and accidentally become Energy Star certified. So I actually called the EPA and said, I have 300 houses I need to get that certification rescinded for. And there was a long pause on the other end of the phone, and they said, well, let me get back to you. So a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they called me back and said, all right, here's the process. We know how to do this. We didn't know how to handle this because it had never happened before. And being somewhat naive and, maybe somewhat arrogant too, I'm like, well, how could that be? I'm just a simple guy from Texas.
Right.
Surely I'm not the only energy rater that's accidentally certified something and then tried to get it rescinded. As it turns out, to this day, and back then, I'm still the only one that's called and said, I've got a bulk number of houses that shouldn't be certified. Can you undo this, please? Because we didn't intentionally not meet the intent, but when we did so, we corrected action rather than roll through it, because we find those values and those ethics to be important. And so we hold that to a higher ground. So therefore, we hold ourselves to a higher ground.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to sweep it under the carpet.
It is.
Or pretend like it didn't happen.
Or to pencil whip it or whatever else. But that's not how we operate. Then, because of that, our clients find value in that.
Right.
They hire us to hit a certain level for their project to achieve certain goals. And they have confidence based on our ability and based on how we deliver and what we've delivered to do that. And also to be the ones to step up and say, it's not going to make it. Right. And if you look at today's market, to what you alluded to, if you are trying to build an Energy Star LEED house and it doesn't get certified, but it still meets, let's say, 21 code or 2024 code, you've still built a really good house.
Yeah.
Much better than a house built 15 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, perhaps. So those are still value propositions that you have to understand and be able to convey to somebody. I mean, above code programs are harder by definition, by default. They're above code. They're supposed to be, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's a great point. And what about you bring up this story about the Energy Star homes, which would lead me to automatically ask you a question kind of off cue, which is, how do you, when you look at the radar industry today compared to, like, you and I have been similar amounts of time. I'm coming close to 20 or 13 just here. So we've seen a lot of change in this industry, right?
Sure.
It's changed tremendously.
Yes.
What do you think the biggest challenge for a company like us is in the current market?
Yeah, I think there's understanding how to manage the hills and the valleys between what builders find important today, they may not find important tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? I think part of our value to a builder that builds thousands of houses is that we can give you a pathway that will allow you to turn that barge in the middle of the river once and have a pathway for 2, 3, 4 years out, and not having to change it every 16 months or having to invent yourself or figure out yourself how to change it to be compliant. That's what you pay us for. Let us give you the roadmap. We'll line up all of the choices. You point to the ones that you really want. And actually, that goes back to some of our business models are based off of my kids, right? Part of our mantra of we don't choose what shade of green you are, you tell us what you want to be, comes from my youngest son, that when he was 3 years old came downstairs and said, I want cereal. I'm like, well, which cereal do you want? And he says, well, get out all the boxes and I'll point to the one that I want. And so our sales metric is kind of the same way too. In terms of, here's all the things you could do with your project, with your development, whether that's apartments or whether within your community. Here's all the things you could do. You tell us what you want to do, and then we'll tell you how to get there.
And I think a good point to that is, like, a lot of times, builders, as you know, have national contracts for equipment and national deals with insulation and things like that. And I think that, a lot of times they can pick and choose. When we give them that menu,
sure,
they can do things that not only help them comply, but save them money.
Yeah.
And that's and we won't always know that, hey, they have a great deal on heat pump hot water heater, or they can get a good deal on gas, whatever. So I think that lays right to that point. The more choices, the better the outcome is.
I think that's the underlying principle that's important too, is that with our clients, we give them confidence. That regardless of the climate zone, regardless of the metropolitan rules and regulations or anything else, is that we're going to give them a pathway that meets those standards. And that regardless of, again, what climate zone it's in, or if it's in the same climate zone but multiple markets, that this same plan will deliver this result. Right. Time and time again, because it's consistency. And that's one of the things that I think from an industry standpoint used to be a minor issue, it has now turned into a plague of
Layering.
inconsistency, right? And the root of that being circling around energy modeling. And if you understand that energy modeling is an art form and not a science, right? And if you want to do the hard work for the model, it can have huge changes in the results.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, we only know how to do it the hard way, which is to do the entire model, right? Because that's what we get paid to do, and that's how we understand it should be done. So that's how we do it. Quite frankly, our competitors don't do that because they don't have to, because their clients may not mandate it, right? Sometimes our clients don't mandate that we deliver the kind of business that we deliver, but it's our own expectations. It's the bar we set for ourselves.
It's amazing how that happens, right? Like I was at IBS the year before last. I had a national builder come up to me and just had a frustration, wanted to talk, and showed me a stack of papers this big. And I'm like, what's that? She's like, that's the same model, but modeled by different rating companies, and they were all different. And I think that's kind of scary in a way.
I think it's painful too.
But very painful for the builder.
Yeah.
Because they don't get consistency, and that's something I think we strive to do every day.
Right.
So I'm gonna get to a little more personal level here. What's your favorite part of this industry?
My favorite part of this industry. It's as I said before, that if you're building even a code minimum house, right? Let's say it's the worst house the law will allow you to build. You're still building a really good house,
Especially with modern code.
especially the modern code. Absolutely right. I would let my kids live in that house because
Sure.
I know it's efficient, right? My favorite part about this job, though, is when you have the chance to work on an affordability project. Whether that's something like Habitat for Humanity or whatever else, and you have a design project that goes through with that, and you can deliver to that homeowner a very low, but more importantly, a consistent utility bill that they can budget for and manage. I think that's hugely important, and that's hugely rewarding for me as well too.
Yeah, we talk about low-income housing, or we talk about affordable housing all the time, but people forget about the cost of ownership.
Yeah.
And you could have a relatively inexpensive home,
Mhm.
but if the cost of ownership is two times more than you can afford,
Yeah.
if it's not efficient, effective, that comes a problem. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the final question I ask everybody: why US-EcoLogic?
What? Why US-EcoLogic? I think if you really value and take pride in the homes that you're going to build, or the apartments you're going to build, or where people are going to live and call it their home, that's why US-EcoLogic. In that we want to be there for someone's first home, and we want to be there for someone's last home. So it's that entire cycle. It's that cradle to grave. We haven't quite figured out the cradle metric for our institute yet, right? But it really is being on that person's journey. Is part of our business mantra. It's part of our business cycle, right? It starts with employee ownership. I mean, we're 100% employee owned, right? That's different within our marketplace as well, too, right?
Absolutely.
And we take great value in that and great pride in that too. So that when we inspect a house, at some level, would you let your mother live here?
Right.
All right. Would you let your kid brother live here? That's the basis. That's what makes it personal, I think. And I think that shows in the way we deliver the business that we do, and ultimately the homes that we're delivering, because that's really what it is. We're delivering homes.
Yeah, everybody has a stake in our success.
Yeah.
Therefore, they care more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's an unbelievable value. And so one more question for you. Why do you choose US-EcoLogic?
Because they keep letting me come back. Days has been a day, to be honest with you. I mean, seriously, I what started off in this job, I have the great privilege of working for 110 some odd really, really smart people. The reality of which is that most of them mumble. I raised a herd of nerds, so I speak mumble. So I can translate mumble to the Queen's English. And that was really my gateway to this organization, is to understand what the solutions were, but to explain it to a client where they can understand it, right? So there's that part of it. And quite frankly, the reason that I stay year after year is it's the people. These are the greatest people I've ever worked with. All of my best friends outside of my wife are at work. That's the truth. I'm a schmuck, perhaps. I have no friends outside of work, but the people I work with, several of them are my best friends, and that's why. And that's a neat, fun reason and to go to work every day.
That's an awesome reason.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time today and sharing a little bit with us. Thank you for choosing to look at and watch the US Eco Vlog today. If you would like to see any more information, you can catch us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You can go to our website, which is www.us-ecologic.com, or you can call us at 972-579-2009. Thank you for choosing US-EcoLogic.